in the middle of the frame. Yeah, there you go. Today I am reviewing These Broken Stars. Okay, so I think I'm a little bit late to the game on this one. This was really popular like a few years ago. But in cleaning up my room I found it and I was just like, I should totally go on YouTube and tear this book apart. Not like tear it apart, because that's bad. Les first impressions. If you see, it has a really nice like cover with like a girl with a dress. So that's a cool thing. I remember opening it up and reading the first sentence. First person present tense. Nice. Was there like legislation passed that like all young adult dystopian novels have to be written in first person present tense? Because if so, I don't want my tax dollars paying for that. That's stupid. Why? It's dumb, okay? It's dumb. I'm done with this, so. Oh, my mugs are back there, so I can't actually throw that. So it's a story about a boy and a girl who meet on a big ship, and the girl's really rich and the boy's not, and it's kind of like Titanic in space, except they like don't like each other. I'm not joking, they really don't like each other at all. I'm sorry. Did you not understand me? I guess it's expected you'd be a little slow given your upbringing. Oh, the romantic tension. And then things get weird. Le plot. Okay, so the plot of this book was, it was kind of all over the place when it should have been pretty straightforward. Basically, Titanic in space turns into Lost in space. And not that Lost in space. No, they just, I mean like J.J. Abrams is Lost, but in space. So they end up on this planet that has like an uninhabitable forest, kind of like my backyard. From there, weird things start to happen. Weird thing number one, so the main plot point of the book, I would say, is supposed to be that they're hearing these weird like whisper voices that are talking to them, and there's like people crying but they haven't seen any people, so they're like, where the heck is it coming from? And it turns out that like Lilac's dad was like ripping these energy beings through some like interdimensional portal and like pulling them and using them to like exploit their energy or something like that. I don't really know. It's really confusing to me because they only get to that in the last couple chapters of the book. So instead of that main plot point, they choose instead to focus on things like Lilac and Travis walking through the forest. Lilac tripping. Romantic tension. More walking through the forest. Even more romantic tension.
Put this on your head. Thanks. What's it gonna do?
Them talking about their families.
I had a mom and dad. I had a brother.
And of course, more walking through the forest. It's an interesting concept, but it seems like the writers wanted to focus more on Tarver and Lilac's unlikely romance. That's so unlikely, especially because they're two teenagers on a planet by themselves, instead of focusing on the actual story, which is a story about Lilac finding out that her dad is a terrible person. Which, I mean, I guess that's okay if you like romance that's just cringy and uncomfortable. Sure, that's fine. They spend a lot of time walking around through the woods. If I want to know about people walking around through the woods, I can just go in my backyard. I wasn't kidding about that backyard thing. This is what my backyard actually looks like. Les caractères. Let's see, let's look at my notes here. Let's see. I just wrote didn't like. No, I'm just kidding. So the only two characters in this book, I mean, the only two important characters are Tarver and Lilac. Everyone else dies. I'm not joking. Everyone else dies. Lilac is kind of interesting. She's like the daughter of this really overprotective rich guy, and she's like, I don't want to be overly protected, but also I have to obey my dad. And she doesn't want to like do what Tarver tells her, and she actually walks around through the forest in her like big fancy space dress. That one for half of the book, which I thought was pretty funny. I liked that. Like, that's something I would do. And Tarver was, well, I mean, he was just basically your standard 18-year-old mopey boy. I don't know what you want me to say. I didn't like him, I guess. I don't know. Le writing style. So I said at the beginning of the review, I don't like first person present tense, but I can tolerate it if, you know, the book is like good. At least Amy Kaufman and Maggie Spooner were able to differentiate between the two characters. Each chapter kind of goes back and forth between Lilac's head and Tarver's head. And they did a good job. Like, I could tell the difference between like Lilac's thoughts and Tarver's thoughts. So good job. How they could have done it better. So tension is what drives a story, right? And this story was astoundingly lacking in tension. The authors, I think, knew that, and so they felt like they had to create some, and maybe that's where the whole came from. But there are other ways to create tension. If I was writing this book, I would have, well, first of all, I wouldn't write it in first person present tense, and also I probably would make some of the characters, I don't know, likable. I would have Anna and Swan, Lilac's best friend and Lilac's bodyguard, also crash on the planet with them. Like, they would all get in the escape pod together and crash on the planet and have to, the four of them, make their way through the forest without, like, killing each other. I think that it would bring a lot more tension to this story, because you'd have Anna, like, also, like, oh, I hate being in the forest, and, like, flirting with Tarver, but then, like, Lilac also kind of likes Tarver, and then Tarver's in love, you know, it would, and then Swan is like, oh, protection, blah, blah, blah. I just think that would be a lot more interesting than these two characters, like, and that would lead to this thing that often happens in science fiction, where one of the characters is kind of taken by these weird aliens that the rest of the group doesn't understand, and those weird aliens, like, with that one person, they're like, oh, we're good and you shouldn't kill us and this is our problem and you have to help us. Obviously in this book that character is Lilac, and that would be really interesting. I could see Lilac being kind of the glue that was holding the group together, and then when she's gone, how do they function? That's what I would have done. That's how I would have written this book, but I sadly can't because it's already written, and I think that me trying to do that now would constitute, like, I don't know, plagiarism or something. But if you're gonna do a second edition, look me up. If you pay me, please. I need money for coffee. So there you have it, my official review of These Broken Stars. All in all, I'd give it about a 10% because it had some potential and the concept of the whispers was kind of intriguing. Also, I got to run around the woods wearing a prom dress to film all those little scenes, so that was pretty awesome. Look, she has a dress that makes everything okay.
Thanks for watching. Let her know if there's another book you want her to review.
Yeah.